This episode of Harvey Brownstone Interviews is brought to you by the Harvey Brownstone Talk Show Blend Coffee, available at hollywoodblends.com. Everyone's saying it's the best coffee they've ever tasted. Why not give it a try and see for yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is a renowned, multiple award-winning jazz singer whose dynamic, soulful voice, incredible range, impeccable phrasing, and powerful bluesy-gospel emotional delivery have made her one of the world's most highly acclaimed vocalists. In 2002, after being discovered singing in a jazz trio in Miami, the Miami New Times named her the best solo musician of the year. She's gone on to record 8 spectacular albums, including The Nearness of You, Teach Me Tonight, The Very Thought of You, Embraceable, Summer Sessions, her latest album, Time to Love Again, which has already had 4 top charting singles, and I can't resist mentioning one of my all-time favorite albums, So Good, So Right, Nicole Henry Live, recorded at the renowned Feinstein's 54 Below nightclub in New York City. 4 of her albums have landed in the top 10 on the US Billboard, Jazz Week, UK, and Japan jazz charts. Her repertoire ranges from the Great American Songbook, classic and contemporary jazz, pop standards, blues, and original material. And get this, in 2013, she received the Soul Train Award for Best Traditional Jazz Performance, winning out over George Benson, Jeffrey Osborne, Chaka Khan, Tony Bennett, Mark Anthony, and Terence Blanchard. Wow. She is universally adored by music critics. The New York Times said, "Every gesture and inflection conveys confidence and mastery, and she creates the sense of being in the presence of a pop soul superwoman." And Broadway World said, "So powerful is this woman's charisma, so unique is her personality, so rich is her music, so abandoned is her joy, that you can't watch her without being drawn in." And in my opinion, that's an understatement. If you want to see what I mean, here's a little teaser to whet your appetite.
My name is Nicole Henry. I sing so that I can share my spirit and entertain people. I love performing and sharing an experience with my audience.
It's been 3 years since I'm knocking on your door.
Singing is a vehicle for me to express my gratitude for life. My goal is to encourage people through music, to inspire people, to make them feel understood, to make them feel.
What am I supposed to do since I found you? You made me love you, baby. Since I found
Soul Train Award winner Nicole Henry.
stars when you shine, you know what I mean. Scent of the pie, you know what I mean. Freedom is mine. It's a new world, a new life for me.
Our guest's latest album, entitled Time to Love Again, has been described by Downbeat magazine as exuberant, joyous, and immaculately executed. Her latest single, which is her fourth charting single from the album, is called Is It a Crime? And it was recently added as the #1 breakthrough single on the UK soul charts. She's taken time out of her very busy touring schedule to grant me this interview. I'm delighted to welcome the incomparable Nicole Henry to our show. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Harvey, thank you for having me. It's fun to hear you rattle off some of my accomplishments. I appreciate that. It kind of had this moment of gratitude. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I whatever work I'm doing is being recognized and appreciated. So thank you for that.
You know, that's one of the reasons I work very hard on my introductions, because I want you, my guest, to appreciate for a moment everything you've accomplished when it's all put together like that.
Wow. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, I want to, first of all, congratulate you on the success of your latest album, which is taking the world by storm. This is so well deserved. I'm so, so happy for you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your voice has been compared to everyone from Dinah Washington, Sarah Vaughan, Etta James, Whitney Houston, Natalie Cole, Patti LaBelle. Who were your greatest musical influences?
I would start with Aretha Franklin and Whitney Houston as female vocalists. Ones that I thought, and it's still to this day, that I think are just powerful and distinctive. But I mean, there's Gladys Knight, you mentioned Patti LaBelle. My aunt actually sings backup for her and has been with her for over 25 years. So I've seen her in concert a bunch. But yeah, and then I think, when it comes to jazz, when I fell in love with jazz and started like just absorbing jazz, I would say Nancy Wilson and Sarah Vaughan. Those would be my four first go-to, but then there's a bunch of influences along the way too.
Your voice is so versatile that you can sing any genre. So what drew you primarily to jazz?
You know what? When I first heard jazz, it was in 2001, late 2001. I didn't, I've heard of jazz, heard of Ella Fitzgerald and the greats, but I didn't really listen to jazz as a genre, as like a study, and it wasn't part of my life growing up. So when I had an opportunity to do, my guitarist and I were opening up the jazz club for the first 1.5 hours. They called it the Love Hour. So it was just the two of us. And then I would hang around and listen to the quartet that was a vocalist in a trio Mondays and Tuesdays. And I was like, wait a second, this is Frank Sinatra. This is Ella Fitz. These are the songs. This is the different writers and composers. And I just fell in love with the genre. And what I loved about jazz in particular was that, one, there's live instrumentation, and I just love the sound of the upright bass. And then two, I get to sing ballads, because growing up and figuring out as an artist how to make a living doing, gigs, you're usually doing the pop music and the wedding bands just to make the money and learn your craft, and you don't get to sing a lot of ballads. I was like, oh, I get to sing just beautiful ballads. And so because I love big epic ballads. And then I just really got mesmerized by the genre and all this music that was new to me. So I really focused on straight ahead jazz for about my first, I'd say 8 years of my career. And then I'm kind of back where I started, meaning plus jazz, meaning I love pop, the big ballads, the Barbra Streisands, but then also soul, a lot of soul too.
Well, that's the beauty of your voice. You can really do it all. Now, when you're deciding to record great standards from the American Songbook, which I think you've done on all your albums except maybe Summer Sessions, how do you go about choosing the songs when there are so many classic songs to choose from?
You do have to tell yourself, okay, this is not my last album. This is the album for now. So you just have to go say, okay, I can't do everything. Really, you just think of what you can do as far as arrangements go. Or at least I think of how can I make these songs special? What have I been performing over the last 2 or 3 years that I have made Howl and Sensitive, for example, which is the only jazz standard on that guitar duo project. How can I give a little something to that? And that's how I choose my songs. And then I think of the balance of a CD. I still have yet to put out my favorite CD, which is going to be all ballads and all love songs. So it's on the way. But I really have to say that I do love all the CDs that I've put out. And there's one single that I'm not crazy about, but the rest I say I really, they do. It's a snapshot of where I was at that time and what was moving me. And so I'm lucky and happy to say that, perhaps because I own my own label, that the albums that I put out, I do appreciate it being where I was at that time.
Well, they're amazing. For anyone watching who has not heard Nicole Henry sing, you are in for a treat, because once you get one album, you want them all. I'm the living proof of that. I want to ask you, Nicole, do you ever get intimidated recording and performing songs that have been recorded by all the great giants like Ella and Sinatra and Judy and Doris Day and all those other great singers?
You know what? I don't. I think because we all have to, as humans, we have to be confident and know that our voice is our voice, and we're never going to be Nancy, Judy, Doris, Ella. We're never going to be those people, and nor should you want to be those people. And so one of the things I do specifically when I sing is that I try to make sure I hear my speaking voice when I'm singing. I try to make sure it's Nicole singing. And I feel that I put time into rehearsing the songs. I have amazing musicians that I work with. So on the musical level, they're gonna shine. So no, I don't get intimidated. I don't, which is a blessing. It's kind of like you just do it. I remember I've sung the national anthem since I was in high school, and it wasn't until like a couple years later that someone says, "Oh, the American national anthem, that's a really hard song to sing," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that." So it's better to just, with your naivete, just go out there and do it, and then listen to yourself, record yourself, and try to get better at whatever you're doing.
I've heard you say that singing is your way of expressing gratitude. Tell me what you mean by that.
Especially in these times, as humans, we all feel, and I do feel an immense sense of gratitude every day. I do not, none of the miracles, I mean, not every second of the day, but every day there's a miracle. Our bodies are miracles. How my hands moving, how did that happen? Humanity is miraculous, and then nature is miraculous. And I also think that the possibility of all the communication that we can have between one another is just, there's so much potential in humanity for the good. And so that's what I sing for, is I sing with faith, with hope, and with gratitude and love. That's really all that we want in life, is to be loved and to be expressed and be understood. So that's why I sing. It's the easiest solution that I have to changing the world. One set or one CD or one song at a time.
Do you ever consider that your voice has a kind of a healing quality to it, that there's something nourishing for the soul in the sound of your voice? Has anyone ever told you that?
Thank you, Harvey. That's such a beautiful, don't make me cry. So yeah, people have said that, and it's such a blessing to hear that, because that's, if you can do that, I mean, Harvey, you're doing it. Your energy is just bright, and so I'm grateful that I've had a chance to sing throughout my life. Before I started singing on any stage, I was singing at school, but then at church choirs or in churches. And to sing at a church is like, you feel that okay, I have to be the vehicle for spirit to come through me, and that is what I generally feel every time I step on the stage, is that I have a responsibility to make people feel. And so yeah, I do try to be a healing presence.
Well, there's something very magical when I listen to your music. It feels like you're just singing to me. You have an intimacy, particularly in your ballads. There is an intimacy to your delivery that makes me feel like you're with me and you understand whatever I might be feeling, and that you're just there for me. And I have not had the pleasure of seeing you in concert, but I'm told by people who have that even in a crowd, it sounds like you're just singing to them. And that's a gift.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we talk about your latest album and new single, I want to ask you about some of my favorite Nicole Henry productions, starting with your amazing acoustic album, Summer Sessions with James Bryan. What inspired you to make an album with him, and what made you decide to go acoustic?
I love acoustic guitar. It's one of my favorite instruments. I don't know why. I love the sound. I own a guitar. I can't say I play it very well, but when I first started, when I first decided, okay, I'm going to go into music, and it's the hilarious and really ridiculous story is that I went to the music store and was like, okay, what instrument can I start writing songs to? And I went to the music store and bought a pair of bongos. Because I was like, oh, I could just, that's easy. I could just, and I got home and I'm like, what was I thinking? This is not a chordal instrument. You're not going to write songs to this. So it's as intelligent as I think I am. That was definitely the most ridiculous thought that I had. So then I returned the bongos and went back and got an acoustic guitar and bought some of my favorite artists from Seal to Stevie Wonder. And those two were very hard to learn. Bob Marley. Bingo. So I was able to really start learning guitar. And I just have this affinity. I used to play cello growing up as a child. So having that instrument in, between your legs and between your arms, it's just such a human body kind of contact thing. And so I think the guitar extends that feeling. And I just love that sound of acoustic guitar. So yes. And and James Bryan is just a wonderful guitarist. So yeah, we had been writing together since the beginning of my career, 2003 or 2004 we met, and we'd always been writing and said we need to record something and put something out. So there it was.
While we're talking about your work with James Bryan, I should mention that you co-wrote a beautiful song with him called All That I Can See, which is on your third album, The Very Thought of You. Do you want to do more songwriting?
I do. And I'm actually taking a songwriting class, the second term of it, and have started to write. I have my songwriting lyric book there, my notes here from class. So yeah, thank you for asking about that. I do want to write some more. The last song that I wrote that I actually recorded and released was on Embraceable, and it's called A Little Time Alone. And that's another one of my favorite songs. But yeah, James and I have a bunch of songs. We just talked a couple of days ago and he's like, we got to get these out. So actually the goal for my next project is to have more originals on the next album. So
what comes first, the music or the words?
For me, and my songwriting teacher will tell you, for me, the idea, the title, and then the story. What am I trying to tell? What am I trying to convey? What message am I conveying? And then I think the lyrics to me make the melody, that you kind of get a feel for that. So
now you recorded a really great Christmas album called Set for the Season, and it includes the song I'd Rather Drink Muddy Water, which I think I first heard sung by Lou Rawls.
Oh yes, he does do a version of that. Yes.
So tell me what made you put that song on a Christmas album?
I have no idea what the thought was. I think it was we were doing a live recording in Tokyo, right, of all places, because they originally centuries ago weren't necessarily a Christian society, but they do celebrate Christmas there. So we're there and we're thinking, I need more up-tempo songs, that don't sound like Christmas songs. Are really like elementary school, what are the kids fairy tale nursery rhymes? They're like nursery rhymes, So we're like, well, we got to put some more blues or do something else. So we threw that in there, and I have no idea how that even fits into a holiday CD, but it's there. It's there.
Well,
so, yeah.
I always play that album on Christmas Eve when I have my little gathering here, and when that song comes on, I always tell people, I think it was a Lou Rawls song, and everybody says, but that's not a Christmas song. And I say, well, if you just kind of go with the groove and have a little glass of Christmas cheer, it works. So I'm glad it's there.
Hilarious. No, I'm glad. That's so funny you asked me that. I need to go and listen to that album and be like, what was I thinking? I have no real idea. But yeah.
Now, Christmas is coming up, so I want everybody to get that album.
How about this? Maybe we'll say, in the holidays, it's always fun to have like one little family scandal. And that song is really about, honey, look, we got to talk about something. So there we go. We're trying to.
There's always family drama at Christmas. You're right.
There we go. So
now, In my introduction, I mentioned that I absolutely love your live album recorded at Feinstein's in New York because I feel like I'm in the audience when I listen to it. Now, you've performed on huge stages at big music festivals, at prestigious venues like the Lincoln Center, and also very intimate clubs like Feinstein's. Do you have a preference for what kind of setting you prefer to perform in?
You know what? I don't. I love them all. I really do love them all. I just love them often. That's my preference, is to do them as often as I can. So I just love, I'm really a workaholic and I love the stage. And yes. So I like, just this last week, I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and it was probably about 150 seat room, and we did 4 shows there. And it's fun because you do feel like you're part of you're their guest too at their table. It's a supper club. So I do love that intimacy, but I do enjoy a big, give me 2,000 seats or a stadium, and yeah, I'll go right on.
Well, speaking of stadiums and major venues where you've performed, you sang the national anthem at the Orange Bowl in 2010 and 2018. You've been singing the national anthem since you were a kid. That's really quite an honor that you've sung it twice at the Orange Bowl. Do you get that?
It's fun. It was so fun. The first time, I don't know. I think this second time it was not publicized on TV too. First time for sure, they were like, oh, that's right. There's 2 million people out there watching. And I'm like, how fun is this? How fun is this? So yeah, I like a thrill. I'm like an adventure vacationist. So I think I love that thrill too in my job.
I don't get the feeling that you get stage fright. You're just so confident.
You know what? I've learned, it was when I was going to, what are they called? Amusement parks. And before you get on the roller coaster ride and before the big scary thing comes, I figured out after, one summer, my sister and I kept going and going on that one that just drops like that. And I was like, okay, how do I not get freaked out? And it's all about your breathing. Not to take away the fun and the fear from anybody, but it's all about breathing. It's all about breathing, deep breathing, and you can get through anything. You can get through anything, but and so you can enjoy the fun, but not be as freaked out about it.
Oh, I think that's such a gift. Okay, so let's talk about your latest single called Is It a Crime from your most recent album, Time to Love Again. This is a song that was written and recorded by Sade, I think. What drew you to that song?
Sade, 1985.
So what drew you to that song?
I always wanted to do a Sade song in a set. And this was years ago, probably about 7 years ago, when I was doing a lot of Valentine's Day concerts here in South Florida. So I would always want to, have a fresh set. And so I said, well, there's Sade has some great songs, and people, it's still in the jazz genre. So not that I'm afraid to go outside of it, but I was like, let's do one of her tunes. And so whenever I do come with a new song to my band, we always try to come up with a special arrangement. And my goodness, did they blow it out of the park. It's something else to just love your teammates that you work with, your production team, your band. And they came up with this arrangement, and we played it and rehearsed it. And I just love the arrangement so much that I was like, we have to record this. Yeah. My perspective is if you're going to cover a song, you've got to do something new with it, and you've got to bring it to a different level, not necessarily a higher or better, but just a different approach. So yeah, I think
and that's what you did. You imposed your own stamp on it. And you just released a video for the single, Is It a Crime, which you filmed at the famous Betsy Hotel in Miami. It looks like you had a lot of fun making that video.
Definitely. And shout out to the Betsy Hotel, really beautiful, art supportive hotel. But yeah, we had a great time. There's a lot that didn't make it to so I have to use those scenes in another video, because it was fun to get nice and sexy on that one.
Yeah, it's a great video. Now, this latest album, Nicole, along with the Summer Sessions album, represents a real evolution and a departure for you, I think, because you're showing many aspects of your voice that go quite a distance from the jazz genre. For example, there's a really soulful rendition of the Maria Muldaur classic, Midnight at the Oasis. What gave you the idea to resurrect that song?
So that's the funny story. My sister suggested Midnight at the Oasis for me probably about 10 years ago. And I was like, Okay. I mean, I like the song, but I couldn't hear how it was going to work for me. And then in 2016, for whatever reason, when I looked at my list of songs to sing, because I have this running long list of like potential songs to sing, and it popped out at me. So I had just moved to New York. I reached out to a great guitarist named Marvin Sewell, who plays with Liz Wright, Cassandra Wilson, and just a sweetheart of a guy. And he came over 2 times and we worked on it, and he came up with this arrangement, and then it's just kind of expanded after playing it live a bunch of times. So yeah, I love that song. What a great song. There's so many great lyrics out there, and that's what Time to Love Again was about, reviving songs from different decades and, just putting some air back into them for us
Well,
to
the
consider.
album includes so many great songs like Until It's Time for You to Go by Buffy St. Marie and the movie theme Wild is the Wind. Those are two of my favorite tracks from the album. Whose idea was it to include those songs?
Yeah, I picked out all the songs on this one for sure. I've always loved that Buffy St. Marie tune, Until It's Time for You to Go. That's always been my perspective on love, is let's make this perfect for as long as it's supposed to be, because when it gets bad, and not to say that we should bail out, but that's sometimes that's especially if you're just dating, not to say that's everybody's answer to love. And then Wild is the Wind. I mean, to me, passion is everything in life, to feel sensuality of whatever senses. And so Wild is the Wind to me is just the pinnacle. I've been wanting to sing that song since 2010. Tried it. And then I went to my friend Shedrick Mitchell. To me, again, it's all about the arrangement. Shedrick Mitchell is a wonderful organist, pianist, arranger. He's actually Maxwell's musical director. And he had been playing with me for a long time. In fact, he recorded on Embraceable, and he just kind of knew what I do and how I like to perform. And he came up with this arrangement, and I love it. Love it, love it.
When I first heard you sing Wild is the Wind, it made me wonder whether you've ever considered doing a whole album of movie themes.
Oh, okay. I'm going to write that down after we're done. I love that idea. Will you help pick the songs for me? You have
Oh,
such a great.
I would love to.
Oh, how fun would that be, Harvey? That would, all right. I will follow up with you about that. That would be too fun. Yeah, I love
I
the
would
idea.
love it.
And then with like orchestration and everything. Oh,
Yeah. And the
fun.
other song I just have to mention from this album is Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder, which I absolutely love. Do you know if Stevie Wonder has heard your rendition of the song?
No, I don't know. I would love to think if he heard it. I met him once at Nancy Wilson's birthday party where I sang, and I was just I don't know if I spoke English or words to him. I was like, it's just an honor to meet you. He's what a legend, what a gem, what a brilliant genius he is.
You're an international star and you've performed all around the world, Paris, Moscow, Madrid, everywhere. But in Japan, you really are a huge superstar. You've won numerous awards there, including Best New Jazz Artist, Best Vocal Jazz Album. Your albums always rank very high on the Japanese charts. Are you surprised by the immense success you've had in Japan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You put music out there and you just never know where it winds up. And all of a sudden I'm on a playlist. And when that happened, it was early on in my career. So right, my first album, I got an email from a person who said, "Oh, could I distribute your album in Japan?" And I said, absolutely. I asked a couple friends, what do I do? How do I do this? They'd send the money. I'd go to the post office with the box. We did that week after week after week. Thank goodness I lived like a block and a half from the post office. And then all of a sudden, I'm number 2 on the charts. I'm number 1 on the charts. I'm voted this. And it wasn't even until 2 years later that I found out that this person that was emailing me that I thought was a woman was actually a man. So there's always, life is like full of surprises. So I just tell everybody, go do what you love. Do it without any fear, and just or try to not ignore the fears and just do it. You never know until you do it. You're not living. We have to do that.
Now, I want to ask you about Nicole Henry, the musical theater star. You've appeared in stage productions of some pretty big shows, including The Bodyguard, A Wonderful World, About the Life of Louis Armstrong, Smokey Joe's Cafe, and earlier this year you played Shug Avery on stage in The Color Purple, correct?
That was so fun. I love it. To me, acting is the hierarchy of, like, as an artist, like psychological study, human study, because you have to embody characters, and then it becomes a real introspective study too. So it's just, it never gets old, and it never gets perfect. And that's the wild thing about live theater too. It's a real rush. And
Would
that
you like
character,
to star in a musical on Broadway at some point?
absolutely, of course, I would love it. I would love to do that, and I would love to do more TV and film is really one of my goals. So working on trying to make that happen too. But that's like what I said. I've been wanting to write something for TV, and I just have to stop my life for a minute and do it and get started on it. So yeah, there's always more out there.
Are you able to identify what has been the most satisfying experience in your career so far?
The most satisfying experience is getting to travel and meet people, and to try to and be a part of people's lives, to touch people's lives, and to be touched by them, when people share their stories with me after. I mentioned being in Indianapolis the other day, and I was getting off the plane after the second leg of the flight, and I happened to be walking behind a woman who had a hijab on, and right now what's going on in the world is it's really insane. Then I started thinking about the wars, not only that one war, but there's, humans just tend to get into these wars over centuries. And then I went to go get some coffee, and the woman who was sitting in my aisle next to me was right behind me, and she said, "Oh, let me get you a coffee." And I'm thinking, no, that's okay. Oh, that's so sweet. She goes, no, here's a welcome from Indianapolis. And then that, I was in tears, really, over somebody buying me a $3 cup of coffee. But it just reminded me of the humanity, and that's why I do what I do. I think that's why what we do. It's because I want us to celebrate the goodness in life. And that's why that's the best thing that's ever happened to me, is to just keep meeting new people.
Well, Nicole, besides your public profile as a popular entertainer, you are also very well known in Miami for your strong commitment to community nonprofit organizations like the Miami Children's Initiative, Young Arts, and the Miami Music Project. And I want to mention that the city of Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County have issued proclamations of Nicole Henry Day 3 times, 2011, 2016, and 2017. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's wild. Yeah. So yes, it is wild. It's beyond my thoughts and expectations. I never would have imagined that somebody would be thinking of me like that.
But
And
it's important to you to give back to the community. Tell me about that importance, what it does for you as a human being.
I think when you turn on the TV or you open up any kind of Instagram or social media, you do see all the different ways that people live in this world, and a lot of people do not have. And so I always have been very aware of that and conscious of that. And I think, especially in where I live in the United States, there's no reason people should be hungry, should not have a home, have good access to healthcare. So I try to do what I can. I try to do what I can to raise awareness about things, to raise money for those things. In fact, in about 3 weeks, I have my annual winter concert. That's a fundraising event. So it will be for Miami Music Project. So we give kids free music lessons after school. So about 700 students in Miami-Dade County have after school programs where we help them study, we give them a snack, and we give them free music lessons. So, and I know music changes people's lives, whether they become a musician or not. Yeah, just, especially kids, you want to give them every tool that you possibly can to inspire them to have a happy life.
Well, it says a lot about you, not only as an artist, but as a human being. And I'm so proud to have you on the show. I want to tell our viewers that you can find out more about Nicole Henry, buy her music and other exclusive merchandise, and see her concert schedule by going to her official website, NicoleHenry.com. You can also watch many of her performances on her YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Well, Nicole, it's been an enormous honor meeting you and having this chance to talk about your amazing life and career. You know how much I love your music. I know you're performing all over the country on tour, and I so appreciate that you took the time to appear on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And Harvey, I'm going to follow up with you now. We're going to work on the TV theme, movie theme project. That's should be on the list for the next 5 years.
I cannot wait to do it. I think you've got the perfect voice, and Wild is the Wind, in my opinion, opened up a whole new avenue for you. So yes, I will do it with you.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you for having me, and all the best to you. And thanks for sharing and spreading so much joy.
Congratulations on all your success with the new album and the new single, and please come back anytime.
I appreciate that. All the
Our
best.
guest has been the internationally renowned singer, recording artist, and concert performer, Nicole Henry. Her latest album, Time to Love Again, and all her albums are available on her website, on Amazon, and on every major music streaming service. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my director of programming, Deborah Batsafin, my production assistant, Rosa Puzo, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.